You mentioned you do several different types of art. So what's your favorite medium to work with and why?
Um, that's a good question. I always try to practice and exercise a lot of them. And so far, I'm just trying to think out loud. So the few projects I've done, so one was the Polar Sounds project, and what we did, we gave 100 artists from all around the world a sound clip from the audio acoustic data from either Antarctica or the Arctic, and then asked them to create something. And the piece that I created, First Contact, which is the piece which I submitted to the Undersea exhibition, um, again, that linked my family, kind of a family history to the ocean. And that was something that happened very organically. It wasn't something that I was particularly, right, I'm going to do this sound narrative piece, which mixes the history of where I grew up with the imagining the impact that acoustic pollution, seismic air guns has on Wales. It was never like, this is what I want to do. And so the mediums kind of at times bleed into each other. I think the process of what I'm doing at the moment is very much starts with the conversation, because I'm not a natural scientist. It starts with conversations. Okay, what's going on? What can I potentially take from this? What is there some questions or some issues that the scientists think are interesting? And it just develops over a long conversation. That then influences the medium, I guess, of what the piece ends up being. So although, when I first was a creative, like my first medium was music and writing songs in Welsh and English, and I suppose, funnily enough, I haven't done any of that since being in this post. It's either been film or sound installation or performance kind of based stuff with the public. But yeah, I think all those mediums I like exploring. And I suppose it depends what the science and the relationship with the scientist, how that goes, really. And I'm very fortunate that current position, I'm allowed to explore that and have the time to, because sometimes if you have an art residency, you maybe only have a couple of months. So you have to be quite, right, it has to be this and it has to be done by here. So having time is something that's been really beneficial for allowing me to explore various mediums rather than just saying, right, I'm just going to do songwriting, or I'm just going to do a film, or just going to do a sound thing. So I think for me personally, that's really helped.
So do you think being in the current position that are at and having access to some of those scientists, that's one of the ways that have directly impacted the way you do your own work or how you see your own work?
Oh, definitely, because um, before this, I hadn't done any art science collaborations. Um, I'd done commissions, and like I said, I used to play music a lot. But all my film stuff and the documentaries I've worked on, they were all political based, collaborating with other people, collaborating with other artists, or whether I've done like sound installations. None of them have actually involved sitting down with what we'd call like a natural scientist and then trying to interpret their data. It's all been either stuff that's interested me outside of a scientific field, or the stuff I've done on the ocean have always emanated from like my identity growing up in Swansea and all this kind of stuff. So it's actually the first, well, I've been doing it 2 years now, but the first time it's like, okay, let's sit down and have conversations. So that's been really interesting because it's forced me to get out of my comfort zone and to try other things and experiment with other things. And so I think that's been really interesting. But like I think key to a lot of that process is having scientists and an institution who are open to having these conversations to begin with, and learning with each other. I think that's been really, really important from a creative perspective, because there haven't been any demands in that sense. Like, okay, I want this, this, this. It's more been a conversation. But yeah, for me, I think that's probably been it's been a really interesting process, I think, and has forced me to be more collaborative as well. Because I suppose if you're doing stuff off your own back, even if you're doing a commission, you tend to have a lot more freedom. But then with this, it's like, okay, although there is space for me if I want to just be like, right, I'm just going to do this.
Hmm.
That it makes it a lot richer, I think, trying to think through these ideas with the scientists. And like, otherwise, they won't want to participate if it's someone's just like, right, I'm just going to do this. 'Cause, what benefit is it for them or value?
Hmm. So